Good morning. This is becoming a real habit. Good morning from Eyam. I'm back yet again. Last week I was here and I did an incredible walk which I absolutely loved, where I visited the locations of 10 mines. And some of them there was nothing there. Some of them there were buildings still intact. So we had the full range last week. I'm back again because according to the Eyam website, there are a lot more mines to be found in this area. According to that website, within a 3-mile radius of the village, there are 439 known mines. Now, a 3-mile radius of Eyam does actually take in a fairly big area, and it will include areas that I've already walked, including kind of towards Stony Middleton and the big quarries that just to the south of Eyam. So I have been to those areas, but there's a lot more within Eyam itself and around Eyam that I've not yet discovered. Where I'm stood now, which is currently it's the car park for Eyam Hall. This apparently is the site of a former mine. This is the site of a former mine called Cussy Pot Mine. There's really nothing left because it's all been levelled to make way for the car park, but there is one thing that's very significant. So this is actually the stream that runs through Eyam Delph, where there are more mines which I have checked out. I'll put the link to that video on screen. But as you can see, this water is coming out of the ground. So this could well be an old sough for probably a number of former mines in the area. Looks like there's quite a dramatic gorge down there. There's no easy way to get down. It's very steep. But very interesting. Well, on last week's walk, I did say that I was making the route up as I went along, and it would probably end up being a really messy route. And actually, it ended up being really quite a good route. Today, though, I'm just trying to follow up on a few things from previous walks and things I've noticed on the map, which I haven't yet checked out. And I really do think that today it is going to be a very messy route. It's going to be all over the place. So this old wall here might be something to do with the old mine. So yeah, today hopefully I can get to some places I've become quite intrigued by. And check out a few locations in the village itself. One of the mines I went looking for last time, in fact the first mine I went looking for in the video, is Glebe Mine, which was just behind the school, and I couldn't really find anything at all. I wasn't even sure which bit of wasteland belonged to Glebe Mine. Well, I'm just the other side of the school now. The school's just over there. And we've got some relatively new build properties here, and it may well be that the mine lives on in the name of the streets, and that's may well pretty much be the only way that the mine lives on. But I wonder if the people who bought these probably quite expensive houses, I wonder if they were aware that their houses were built on top of numerous mine tunnels. Well, this is the end of the road. It's just the cul-de-sac. It's not very long. And you get to this, and just here is where I was last week. There's the churchyard, that's the gate I came through, and that's the bit of land that's behind the school that now seems to be used by the school as a play area. And then you've got all this wasteland here. So I think the interesting thing is, why didn't they build the new estate or the new houses even further? And I suspect that this is where the mine, the main location of the mine, would have been. So the weather today, you can probably see, it's very dull, very dark and dull. And it's also pretty windy. The forecast is for windy weather for most of the day. The actual temperature right now is something like 4 or 5 degrees, but with the wind chill it's like -1, -2. There is snow forecast for tonight, but hopefully the walk will be done long before that starts. Look at that intriguing little window there. The tea rooms are just over there, and according to the Eyam website, just behind the tea rooms was the smithy shaft. Well, we're literally behind the tea rooms now. This is the square, and according to the Eyam website, in 1986 an unlikely mine shaft was uncovered here, and apparently you can identify the location because there's a half diamond on the ground, half on the road and half on the pavement. And I've looked all around and I can't see a half diamond, but somewhere around here in 1986 they discovered this old mine shaft, and it was a completely unknown mine shaft. They had no idea that it was there. You know, these mines date back hundreds and hundreds of years. And many of them are forgotten about now. There is an old mine shaft directly in front of where I am, but in the fields, which I can't access. Some great views opening up there. This is Riley Wood, and a lot of people come up here looking for the Riley graves. I've never actually been to those, so I may as well include those on today's walk, but that's not my reason for coming up here. So this is Riley Wood, and directly in front of me is the site of Aaron's Engine Mine. And I don't know if you can make it out, but there is a fenced off square bit right where that tree is. The tree's right in the middle, and the tree's in a bit of a dip. I suspect that's the old capped off shaft right there. We've also got a bit of a ruin here, so I'll go and check that out. So this must be the old mine shaft. That tree, I thought that tree was growing out the middle, but it's just to the side of the opening. This has been fenced off, but there's fallen trees over the fence over there. So you can see now that the tree is actually precariously over the top of the mine shaft. I can't get close enough to the edge to see how deep that is. It's all very muddy and I don't want to risk getting too close. Again, a drone would be handy. I could just fly the drone over and look down, but it's a pretty big open mine shaft. Once again, I've got the Kodak Charmera keychain camera with me. I'll take a few snaps and put an image gallery at the end of the video. So this is just a little bit further along. The ruin is just behind those trees over there. And we got all of this. All this water is coming from here. So it looks like a drainage channel. The drainage channel or sough is just there. And we got these earthworks here. I love it when things kind of click together and you get answers to questions from previous walks. I don't know if you can see, but over there is Goddard's Quarry, which I've walked all around, and then I went back and I actually walked in the quarry itself. Over there is Dalton Quarry, which I've also walked around and in. And when I was up there, I looked across here and I saw that from a distance, and it's like, I didn't know what that was. It just looked really odd. But now I know what it is. This is the Riley graves. So they're the plague graves for the Riley family. Now, one of the locations I want to get to today is over there, and it's not on any paths. And I was going to go back this way, check another couple of things out, and then go around and try to get to it from over there, and then go back again. But now I'm thinking it might be possible. It might be possible to get to it from this direction. So I'm going to walk a little bit further and see whether that is possible. I need to get around somehow. I might try this. This is Stoke Wood. I've never been here before. As you can see, there's quite a few earthworks. There's old quarries here. There's also, I think, contemporary quarries here as well, further in that direction. And I might have a look to see whether I can kind of get around that house and that house's land. See if I can get around somehow, because my objective is over in that direction. As I mentioned, I've never been here before, and it's quite interesting. I'm going to have a wander around, because apart from anything else, it is worth an explore by the looks of it. Lots of old stonework and walling and things like that. Lots of old quarry activity. The trail I'm walking along right now isn't even marked on the map. Ahead is the location of Stoke Old Engine Mine. When I was looking at the satellite images, I could see a building, and I couldn't tell whether it was a ruin from the mine or whether it was a more modern building. And it looks like it may have originally been a mine building, but it's in very good condition. It's been restored, and this, it seems to be part of that building over there, which is Top Riley, and I think it's holiday lets. So I'm guessing that's some kind of holiday cottage, but I'm also guessing that that was originally part of the old mine workings, the old mine buildings. Anyway, let's have a look around. The map does also show an old quarry. The views from up here are pretty spectacular, or at least would be on a clearer day. Now I can also see something, a feature that's marked on the map. I can see from here, so I'll check that out as well. Needless to say, I'm not on a public footpath here. That does seem to be an old building ruin. Trouble is, there's quite a substantial fence in the way. This cross is marked on the contemporary OS map. I don't think it's marked on the older ones. I'll check that out in a minute. As to this, I can't see any way of getting inside. It seems to be more of a quarry than a mine, but I think the mine workings, I can see it actually. Just over to the other side is where the old mine was. And I'm going to keep trying. Well, this isn't new. This is pretty old. It's one of the ancient stone crosses. I wonder why it's not marked on the older maps. It's really annoying. I can't see any way of getting into the mine. What an amazing place. There's all kinds of like rock outcrops, and there must be a lot of archaeology here. And you've got this amazing cross that's in perfect condition. You know, this is part of our history, our culture. We should be able to access places like this. I wonder why this isn't on the older maps. What a great spot. So we do have some interesting features. We have some newer features over here. That looks like concrete. Over here we've got, we've got a fenced off square, so that must be the mine shaft, and I just did see some water vapor coming out of it. So that must be an open mine shaft there, I'm guessing. But I just can't get over this gate, over this fence. So if I don't get any closer, at least, if I can't get to it, at least we can see it fairly well from where we are at the moment. This is Stoke Old Engine Mine. And there is the mine shaft. I'm intrigued by this. This looks like an old cairn, an old burial mound to me. It looks very much like an old burial mound to me. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to make it any closer to that mine. I've had to go quite a distance away just to get out of that field. There is another feature up here which I wouldn't mind having a look at. But again, I'm not sure if it's going to be easy to get to, and if it isn't straightforward to get to, I don't think it's worth any extra special effort to get to. I'm pretty close to New Engine Mine where I visited last week. That's just over there. There's a feature called Rock Hall on the maps, and I think it's just like a rock outcrop. I'm going to see if I can find it, get to it. That's quite an intriguing feature, just a random standing stone or leaning stone in a field. So this is a really intriguing landscape. I can't work out whether this is Bronze Age or Neolithic or more recent quarrying or mining, but it's nothing that recent, I'll tell you that. We're right on the edge of Rock Hall, the feature on the map known as Rock Hall, which is that there. And again, it looks intriguing, doesn't it? It's just a rock outcrop as far as I can make out. incredible views over to Darlton Quarry and what I was calling Hidden Quarry, but is apparently Eyam Quarry. Spectacular views, a spectacular angle and perspective of those quarries. Made it so this is the feature on the maps known as Rock Hall. I know nothing about it. I don't know whether it's natural or to what extent it's natural. To me, that does look like an old rock shelter. These rocks are amazing. Incredible rock shelters, but the question is, how old are they? I've no doubt that people have sheltered under these rocks, but how long ago is the question. So we got something pretty conclusive here. See all these smaller rocks, these are deliberately being piled up to create some kind of wall, small amount of walling. Yeah, this is not entirely natural. Right, well, it's lunchtime. The wind's picking up and I'm quite exposed here. So I'm going to try and find a little bit of shelter up here, around here somewhere, and have lunch and then decide what to do next. Absolutely amazing views. I thought that might make a good lunch spot, but it's not as sheltered as I'd like it to be. And this is what New Engine Mine looks like in the sunshine. Mompesson's well is just there. This is what Rock Hall looks like from the road. As you can see, the sun's come out. I've had a kind of last minute change of mind about what to do next. So I'm just coming up to the site of Shaw Engine Mine. And I'm going to pass it, I think, and check something else out. I'll try and get somewhere else that I saw from a distance last time I was here. Well, I wasn't really expecting any sunshine today, and I don't know how long it's going to last for, but it's very welcome. I can't remember the last time I was out in some sunshine. Spoke too soon. There it goes. As you can see, there's Lady Wash Mine, and I'm just the other side of it on the footpath that passes by very close to the mine. Although, of course, when I was here last week, at least when I arrived, you probably wouldn't have been able to see the mine from this footpath because of the fog. Although it had cleared somewhat by the time I'd had my lunch at Lady Wash Mine. Some amazing views in the distance as well. There's Haycliffe over there. But I'm going to head off over here and try and get a good look, or a better look, at something I saw from a distance last week. I know that there was another mine here or hereabouts called either Haycliffe or Haycliffe mine. I've seen both variations of the spelling. You can see that there are earthworks, and I could see that ruin from a distance, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I couldn't see it very well. I wanted to see if I could get closer to it, and I have got closer to it, but there are obstacles between me and it, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get all the way to it. So that ruin may or may not have something to do with the mine, but regardless, you can see there were mine shafts here. So now I'm closer to it and I can see it a bit more clearly. It looks more like farming related than mining related. I think the location of the mine was over here. Right, I've pretty much made up my mind. That is not what I first thought. When I couldn't see it very clearly from a distance, I thought it might be something to do with the old mine. It's not quite in the right place, and now I can see it clearly. It's just an old farming building of some kind, ruin of some kind. The maps show the mine as being over here, and you can see all the earthworks, and you can see where these shafts are being capped off. So I don't think that ruin has anything to do with anything. All right, so that ruin there, I'm pretty sure is not anything to do with the old mine. Haycliffe or Haycliffe mine was in this area here, and you can see all the earthworks, and you can see a couple of blocked off mine shafts. Just making my way back down here, and to be fair, so far this walk, I think this is the only bit where I've had to retrace my steps. There will be more where I need to retrace my steps, I think, maybe, but it's worked out better than I originally thought it was going to. At least so far it has. There's still a couple of points of interest I want to try and locate or get to. This is the location of Shaw Engine Mine, which I checked out not so much on my last walk, but on the 1st of January when I was here. I explored that area. and also on the 1st of January, but not my last walk, I went down here. And I'm gonna go down here again because there's another mine down here that I'm gonna see if I can locate a little bit more clearly. This is the stream that I suspect might be a SUF, drainage channel for the mines, the various mines in this area. Just up ahead on the corner, on the bends, there's clearly earthworks from a mine. And the Bubble Pit website does give the old Brookhead mine shaft as being somewhere over there. I couldn't see anything last week when I was looking over the side there. When I was walking along the road and I looked down the side, I couldn't see anything obvious. But I think there is something else as well. So I think there's a difference between the old Brookhead shaft and the Little Brookhead mine. The Little Brookhead mine, according to Bubble Pit, is somewhere along this path. Now, I have walked along this path before and I didn't see it, so we'll have another look, see if there's any evidence. You probably can't tell, but the sides, particularly the other side of this valley, is extremely steep, and there are a number of fallen trees. I can see a trail going up there, but otherwise I can't see any evidence of the mine. Although when I was at the top and I was above the corner, when I was above the bend, which you'll see on the previous video, there were very clear earthworks. Well, according to the Bubble Pit website, this is the site of the Little Brookhead mine. And there's a good indication that that is correct, because there's a random small bit of fencing here with a sign saying, please keep to waymarked path. And then there does look to be like some earthworks over here. So I think this is it. Let's go and have a look. Again, I'm not sure how well this picks up on the camera, on the footage, but there are some big earthworks here. So on my last video, when I was above the bend in the road and there were all those earthworks, I can't remember whether I named that as the location of Little Brookhead mine or Old Brookhead mine, but I think it is Old Brookhead mine. And then this is the location of Little Brookhead mine. So I think this mine must have been really small, because I've just come from the footpath over there, which is in sight. If someone went along it, you'd see them. And now I've got this fence with this sign, so it's literally this small area here, and there's, apart from a little bit of earthworks, there's nothing to see. Okay, we do have a bit of stone walling here. I've no idea what it was. So this is it. This is what's left of Little Brookhead mine. Very little left, and it's all very overgrown. But I'm glad I found it. And then this is separate from where I was last week when I was on the bends. That was an older mine over there on the other side of this small valley, clough, whatever you want to call it. Right, so for my next objective, I'm going to go somewhere where I've walked past quite a few times and I've always loved what I could see, but I've never gone up to it before. I'm going to see if I can actually go up and get into it. So here we have some more plague graves. These are the Lydgate graves. I think that dog in the window might be stuffed. It hasn't moved. It still hasn't moved. It must be stuffed. I'm not sure what this would have been. It looks a little bit too big to be a trough. So this is the spectacular ruin that I've seen a number of times, and every time I walk past it I have to stop and take some photos and video clips of it. And I think I've seen it 3 times before, and on every occasion I was on the other path, the path that runs over there. I've now taken a parallel path, which I've not been on before, and I've been able to get up to the ruin. So you can see this looks like the main part of the house. That's been added on later on, and this bit over here has been added on later on. You've got that, which looks like a very low door that's been blocked off. This which has been blocked off, and this which is a doorway that's been blocked off. So we got to the end of another walk, achieved quite a bit on this walk. I've clarified a couple of mine locations from the previous walk, found another couple of mine locations, been to a couple of spots in Eyam village itself which supposedly had mine shafts, found an amazing cross, and been finally, after at least 3 times of passing by, finally checked out that ruined building. So I've enjoyed that. I hope you have too. Stay tuned for the Charmera image gallery. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.